Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did, so let's get started. Number 5 was Kung Fu Panda 4, making $7.7 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $165 million and a worldwide total of $409 million. Kung Fu Panda 4 is now the second biggest film in the franchise domestically, as it surpassed both Kung Fu Panda 3 and Kung Fu Panda 2. It now sits behind the first Kung Fu Panda film. I'm not sure if it's gonna get to that film's 215 domestic total. That just seems like a bit of a reach right now. But you know, second place is still ain't half bad, and I think it's, given where it's at, it's gonna get pretty close to that film's domestic total. Worldwide, it has surpassed the $400 million milestone, and given where it's at and the lack of competition for it to face off right now, I think it's got enough to at least squeak by $500 million worldwide. Yeah, just another solid weekend for Kung Fu Panda 4, still ranking amongst the biggest films in the franchise, even though it's not really doing so worldwide. But given that it's much cheaper to make than the other films, this is still a very solid total to be at. I'm sure DreamWorks is satisfied with how well this movie has done thus far, and you know, like I said, due to the lack of competition, I wouldn't be surprised if this movie stuck around for even more. Again, there's nothing kid related, no animated movies until May at the earliest right now, so don't be surprised to see if this movie pulls off like another Migration where it just hangs around for a while in the top 5 because of that. Yeah, just not much more else to say except Kung Fu Panda 4 still killing it. Number 4 was the first Omen, opening with $8.3 million this weekend domestically and $17 million worldwide. This is the third biggest opening for a horror film this year, topping Immaculate but still sitting behind Imaginary and Night Swim. So yeah, this kind of came in a bit under my expectations. I wasn't expecting anything much for this, but I thought it would do a bit better than Imaginary, given the fact that it's surrounding the Omen franchise, one of the most well-known, beloved horror films, you know, and the reviews were really solid. Definitely one of the better reviewed horror films out right now, but unfortunately it just doesn't seem like the interest was there. This is not what The Exorcist is to a lot of people. I don't think The Omen is as big of a horror franchise as I thought it was, and I don't think that there was as much interest to go check this movie out. Now, the big thing here is the budget. For a horror movie, this is on the heftier side. It cost $30 million. Worldwide, it's a decent start with $17 million, you know, so it's bound to surpass that worldwide. But the thing is, you know, word of mouth isn't too great on the film. It got a C cinema score rating, you know, which isn't great. It's on par with most horror films, but you know, it could be a bit better, so that's concerning. We'll have to see how this does. Maybe, you know, people like this better than I think they do, but right now things aren't looking good for the word of mouth and, you know, competition. You know, this movie's only got like 2 weeks left until the next big horror film, Abigail, also comes out, and we'll see how that movie does in the future. So it doesn't have a lot of time to really bring in the big bucks for itself. So yeah, pretty mixed bag of an opening, if I do say so myself. We'll see how it goes. We'll see where it goes from here. Maybe it can turn this ship around, but yeah, things are not the best right now. They're not horrible by any means, but they're not great. Number 3 was Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, making $9 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $88 million. Worldwide, it sits at $138 million. So Ghostbusters is still falling massively behind Afterlife. I don't see this movie making nearly as much as that film did, unfortunately. It's just not really bringing in people to go and check it out. You'd think it would pick up the pace, you know, after, you know, spring break, but unfortunately it just doesn't look likely. There's just not a lot of interest in this movie. Unfortunately, it should surpass the $100 million milestone domestically pretty soon, and $150 million worldwide is definitely safe, but the chances of this getting past the doubling point of its $100 million budget, that being $200 million worldwide, is looking unlikely. It's really slowing down. It's not making any sort of boost internationally. Ghostbusters doesn't have as big of an appeal internationally as it does domestically, and domestically the movie's still really struggling. So yeah, still looking like a pretty disappointing turnout for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I'm sure this is not what they wanted to see. If only the movie was better, and maybe, it would have probably increased from Afterlife, but unfortunately the movie was not better and audiences aren't really liking it, and unfortunately it's not making as much as Afterlife. So yeah, overall, once again, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, big disappointment right now. Not the biggest flop of the year or anything, but certainly a big disappointment. Number 2 was Monkey Man, opening with 10 million this weekend domestically and $12 million worldwide. Like the first Omen, I thought this movie would do a bit better. I thought the buzz was stronger. I thought the interest was higher. I remember when the first trailer dropped and everyone was talking about that, but I guess that was a smaller number of people than I thought there was, as, I thought this could have hit 15, maybe even at least high teens, but it just didn't seem like that was the case. Still, though, given the fact that this was originally supposed to be dumped to Netflix, this is way more money it made if had it gone to Netflix. So the fact that it was able to bring in this number of people to the theater is still pretty solid, to say the least. I'm not really sure what the budget is. Some sources are saying it's 10 million, which, if that's the case, bravo, this movie's already on a great start. But others are saying it's 30 million, and that's where I say it's a decent start. We're gonna have to see where the word of mouth is on this film. Audiences are liking it all right. It got a B+ cinema score rating, which is on par with some other R-rated action movies, like Bullet Train and Violent Night, the first John Wick, So maybe this movie finds an audience and, legs out throughout the rest of the month, because April isn't looking as big as March. So maybe this movie manages to, make a name for itself during this bit of a slow period here. But yeah, interesting opening, to say the least. I'm curious to see where this movie heads down the road. But yeah, definitely a decent start for this movie. I thought it would be better, but still, given the fact that this was originally supposed to be dumped onto Netflix, this is still way more than it would have made had it gone to the streaming service. And the fact that this got a theatrical release alone is still worth celebrating. So yeah, still a pretty solid achievement nonetheless. And finally, let's end the video off with the number 1 movie of the weekend, which was once again Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, making 31 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of 134 million and a worldwide total of 361 million dollars. So the film fell a bit steeper than I thought it would. It dropped 61% from last weekend, which is not the best hold you want to see, but there are some reasons as to why. Obviously, last weekend was Easter holiday and spring break for a lot of people, so more people were more available to go check the movie out, as to why the film dropped so heavily. But still, the movie is headed in the right direction. This is not like Madam Web or Ghostbusters, where the film is in trouble. It's actually still headed on the right path. It's already doubled its $135 million budget worldwide. It's on its way of tripling that. Domestically, it's about to pretty much surpass its initial production budget worldwide. It's already surpassed the $300 million milestone, and it's about to surpass the $400 million milestone. Definitely going to hit $500 million eventually. We'll see if it can hit $200 million domestically. It seems likely, given like what I was saying with Monkey Man, how we're in a bit of a slow period right now, so this movie is probably going to take advantage of that. There is no other movie coming out until probably the summer up to this scale, if you know what I mean. The word of mouth on this is still very solid. I think people are still going to go and check out and see this movie multiple times, or even for the first time, because once again, there's no movie quite like this out right now. So yeah, despite a steep drop, which is definitely concerning to say the least, this movie is still doing pretty well for itself. A big movie out right now, not to the degree of Dune by any means, but certainly pretty damn close, which I think is definitely worthy of celebration right there. So yeah, despite a steep drop, this movie is still doing pretty well overall. And those were your top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet, as we got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. And this weekend we have one new major wide release, that film being Civil War, because of course, the same year as election year, there's a movie about a fictitious civil war occurring in the United States of America. And I'm sure everyone will respond to this movie in a level-headed, calm, and adult manner. Alright, all jokes aside, this is honestly probably the biggest wild card of the year right now for me, as there are so many ways I can see this movie exceeding expectations and also embarrassing itself. One way that I see it exceeding is, the timing of this, how topical it is, the fact that it's election year, and we got this movie coming out about a civil war occurring in the United States of America. And I think that's going to intrigue a lot of people and encourage people to go check this movie out and see what it has to say. I also think the marketing has been pretty solid. This is A24's first real big mainstream blockbuster, and they've been doing a good job of selling the movie. I've been seeing the trailer a lot, seeing a lot of ads for it, and the buzz does seem to be there. I do see people talking about it, and you already know there is a discourse online. I won't say if it's a good or a bad one, but there is discourse over it. The problem is that being the type of movie this is, there's obviously going to be some controversy around this movie, and I'm curious to see what and how people react to this movie, because if this movie succeeds and people really like it, then yes, I see this movie probably becoming one of, if not the biggest movie of the month. Again, we're in a slow period right now, and really making a name for A24 and showing that this studio can also make big blockbusters. But I also think that if the movie doesn't succeed and audiences are like, what is this, then I could also see this movie embarrassing themselves, because this does have a big budget. It cost $50 million to make, so it needs a lot to really make a name for itself. So we'll see how it does. I'm very curious to see what this movie will do. It's going to be a very interesting opening weekend and just an interesting box office run to see for this movie for sure. But we'll see how well this movie truly does, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. That's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.